episode of Groovi Tuesday. My name's Paul Church from Clarity Stamp here in the UK. I can see we have some eager viewers over on YouTube already. Good morning, Margaret. Good morning, Karen. Lovely to have your company so early. We'll just wait a few minutes for people to find us in the room and join the party. As soon as I see a few more messages pop up, then I know that we're good to go. Hopefully you can hear me. I think I've got everything switched on. Good morning, Mo. Here we all come. How's everybody doing today? Short sleeve shirt on again today. I think that indicates the weather outside. Good morning, Nahid from sunny Milton Keynes. Anja, Karin. Good, here we all come. Stuart's in the room with you this morning. So if you have any questions, he's there to help. And I'm sure some of our lovely design team members will be with us very shortly. We normally have Jane, Josie, Glynis. Sometimes we have Carol in the room. It's lovely and sunny in New York. Wishful thinking. North Yorkshire. There we go. There's a lovely Jane. Good morning. And I think that's my all clear from Stuart. Sound is good. Thank you, Stuart. Eileen is in Norway, from rainy Norway. Oh dear. We'll send you some sunshine over. Sunny in Lincolnshire, overcast in Nottingham. Sunny in South Wales. I'm not even going to pronounce that. So yeah, not very good at pronunciations. So there we go. There's a lovely Josie. Good morning, Josie. Lovely to have you in the room with us. Yeah, I think they're forecasting sort of quite warm weather towards the end of the week. It's definitely warm in here. I've got the fan on today underneath. I hope that doesn't interrupt too much. I don't think, from past experience, I don't think it interferes with anything. Yeah, look at that, 10 o'clock on the dot, and everybody's coming in to join the party. So I haven't seen Mr. Ken this morning. I'm sure he's lurking around somewhere. Lynn said it's been a long time since you've joined, so hi from sunny South Lincolnshire. There we go. It's a lovely Pat. Good morning, Jill. Oh, a lovely hour of chilling out, getting in the clouds, I nearly said. My brain is sort of reading ahead and talking. Not good. I'm not going to read. I'm just going to talk. So Ken's in the room. There he is. Good morning, Ken. I knew you'd be lurking in the background somewhere. Lurking's not really the right word, is it? I'm sure Ken doesn't do any lurking. He does more grooving than lurking, I'm sure. So yeah. So busy few days since we last met. What happened? So last Tuesday we were here, had a fantastic one-day special on TV, Barbara's Bijou Floral Alphabet. Crazy. And those lovely new essentials, those great little frames. Yeah, they were really, really popular. So thank you for everyone that tuned in. As always, thank you to Josie and Glynis for all their help prepping those shows. We'll have a little sneaky peek of those. Not a sneaky peek, we've already seen them. We'll have a look at those a little bit later because there's definitely so much mileage in those designs. So that was Thursday and Friday. Then Saturday, Tina was on with those lovely Art Nouveau inspired, the Rennie Mackintosh inspired designs. Then we was in the shack with Barb yesterday. Here with me, Groovi Tuesday today. And then we've got lots of TV coming up over the next couple of days, which we'll fill you in on a little bit later. But if you wasn't in the shack yesterday, let me give you a heads up. We finally have the blending pen back in stock. Mr. Dave has been working so hard behind the scenes trying to get all this, because we had to relocate all the manufacturing back to the UK. So they're finally back in stock, and I'm sure Stuart could pop a link up to the blending pen because I know when Barbara gave it a shout out, yes, it proved really, really popular. It's taken such a long time. And slowly over the coming weeks and coming months, we'll bring back some of the designs that we're currently out of stock of, and some new designs as well. So we have got a limited run at the moment, but I know Dave's been talking to them this morning. I think the next one due back in is the 1 needle fine. So keep an eye out for that, and I'm sure we'll give it a shout out either in the shack or on Groovi Tuesday when that is back in stock. So brilliant news. So if you've been waiting and waiting and waiting, then now's your opportunity to pop it in your basket. So because I've been using mine the last couple of weeks to do the colouring in, and it really does make a difference when you're using the blending nibs. Just watch this space. That's all I can say. Right, so let's have a look at what we've been looking at over the past few weeks. And we've been looking at the Jane Nesterenko Rose and Lattice, two beautiful plates. And we've been looking at the bottom part of this. So this one is an A5 plate, and this one is an A5 square. Great for sort of filling in areas, sort of creating borders and frames. If you take your nested squares, your nested circles, rectangles, ovals, you can pop that in place, and then you've got a lovely infill in the background. So a really useful plate, and you can do so much with it as well. We had a sort of sneaky peek on how we can sort of make it even smaller by offsetting the design. And if you miss that, you can go back and watch one of the previous episodes on how we created that. But it's very, very simple. So this is what we've been looking at. While you're just looking at that, let me grab, I'm sure I've got those plates up here, because I think when you combine the floral alphabet, the new bijou one, the floral alphabet, and those lovely frames, then really it's sort of a match made in heaven. So I think I've left them downstairs. I haven't unpacked everything yet from TV last week, but I'm sure somebody could pop those into me if they get a chance during the course of the hour. So what we've been doing, we looked at a piece that was created in a craft along by Barbara and Linda Williams. And this was back in September 2021, using the rainbow parchment to create that soft, subtle look. We've been working with clear parchment. We've created our frame, but rather than put the flower off to the side, I've kept mine straight in the middle, exactly how it comes on the plate. So this is the piece that I've been working on. Let me bring that in. Let me just pop a piece of the paper behind it, and we can have a look at that. So we had a look at doing some white work, and last week we started to introduce colours. And Jane gave me a top tip on to get a really nice sort of vibrant pink using the Pergolina B14. You get that really sort of nice rich pink, as opposed to if you mixed up the red and the white to get a softer pink. So it's all about having choices. And so this week we're going to carry on building that colour up. And now that I have my trusty blending pen with us, then it's going to be so much more easier to control. So to continue on with the project this week, we're going to need our piece of artwork. We're going to need a selection of colours from the Pergolina B pencils, the ones that have the white writing on. And maybe you want a piece of scrap parchment that we can test our colours on. This is where we was looking at using sort of the red and the yellow to create a lovely orange. And then this was the lighter pink that we had to play with. So maybe before you start colouring in, you want to sort of have a play on a scrap to see what colour combinations you can come up with. And don't forget, because we're using the pencils, then another key piece of equipment is the double-ended eraser, because if we don't like it or we make a mistake, then we can rub it all out and start again. So I think we're all good to go. We're going to add some more colour to our rose, and we're also going to add colour to our leaves. So I think, are we all ready to get in the groove and just chill out for the next 50 minutes or so and just enjoy some colouring? Tina did, I sound as if I'm on overdrive at the moment. I will slow down, honest, I promise. Once I start colouring in, the voice will calm. It's just that there's so much to remember, and because I can't read, because I'm getting all tongue-tied, I'm sort of just filling the space with my waffling on. So yeah, I think we should just calm it, curb it, as they say, and we can do some colouring. So what colours everybody going for? Any decision on choices of colour? What colours have people chosen? Sue, will the dotted lace plates be available to buy at the open day, please? I'm sure they will. We're currently sort of making all the stock for that was all the delayed dispatch at the moment, but I'm sure we'll have some there. What day are you coming, Sue? Are you coming Friday, or are you coming Saturday, or are you coming both days? Jill's just found us. Good morning, Karen. Yeah, we have our open days fast approaching. 2 fun-filled days celebrating all things clarity, 30 years this year. It's on Friday the 9th and Saturday the 10th of June. The tickets are only £8 for the day. There's free parking, we have refreshments. The girls are in the kitchen selling sandwiches and refreshments. And we have Glynis doing the snip clinic. I'll mention Glynis first because I always forget the lovely Glynis. How can I forget Glynis? Glynis is doing the snip clinic. We have Hazel doing a groovy make and take. We have, I do this every time, Tina and I'm rubbish. I'm absolutely rubbish with names. We'll come back to Tina and it'll come to me. Doing a Stampy make and take. We have Tina getting groovy, Jane Telford getting groovy, Dawn Wheeler's going to be working her magic with dyes. We have Eileen Godwin and Leonie Pujol, and Sam Crow getting all inky and brushy and stencily. Sonia, thank you, Sonia. You know, sometimes you get a block on the name, and I always pronounce Eileen's surname wrong. It's Godwin, not Goodwin, Godwin. But sometimes you have to keep saying it. Sonia. And of course, we have the lovely Jilly as well, demonstrating this year. I think that's everybody covered. Barb will be demonstrating. She'll be up and down like a yo-yo on the chair with the fantastic raffle prizes. See, I'm normally good with faces, but I'm rubbish with names. Absolutely rubbish. So apologies, Sonia. How can I forget lovely Sonia? So yeah, 2 fun-filled days. I'm sure Stuart could pop a link up for the tickets if we've got spaces still available. Saturday will be a little quieter than Friday. You know, it's like a lot of people want to come on the first day, worried that we're going to sell out and stuff like that. But it's not far from the office. So if we do sell out something on the Friday, then myself and Gilly normally pop back on a Friday evening to pick up any extra stock. And if we do sell out, we can always take an order for you and send it out to you afterwards. So there's nothing to worry about there. Have I had too much coffee or not enough coffee? Define too much and define not enough. No, I think it's still the aftermath of TV last week, I think. and with sort of lots going on and trying to get ahead on everything, especially with the open days coming up, trying to get all that planned and everything. The head is sort of over there, mouth is here, and something else is over there. I'm not even going to go there, but it'll be all right on the night, as they say. Okay, let's do some colouring. Enough waffling now. Let's get back to chilling out for the hour. I won't talk as much, but since the question, washing machine, actually I can't even pronounce. Washing machine head. Right, I'm going to do some colouring. Are you going to join me? Of course you are. Okay. So let's have a look. Let's take our plates out of the way and let's have a look at our artwork that we're working with. So pencils, blending pen, extra nibs, spot on sponge, Dorso oil, and I think we're good to go. What's that little picture? Is that like an old-fashioned washerwoman, Glynis? Yes, definitely. Okay, right, let's zoom in. We'll come in nice and slowly. There we go. So if you are new to colouring, if you're new to colouring, you're coming along that part of the Groovi bus journey, then it's a coffee bath. Then for me, the pencils are sort of a must-have, because if you make a mistake, you can rub it out. If you don't like the colour, you can rub it out. If you go over the edge, you can rub it out. So for me, when I was learning to colour in on parchment, before I was aware of the Dorso oil, the pergolina pencils, we would often use the Tim Holtz distress markers or Faber-Castell pencils, because as crafters, that's what many of us already had in our stash. But with the pergolina pencils, it's a really sort of a nice sort of real soft way of introducing colour to your parchment. Okay, so we've already put a base coat down using the lovely pink, and we introduced some white. Okay, so if you're tuning in for the first time, let me just show you on a petal here. So what I did first was I took my white pencil and I lightly scribbled, very, very lightly, the area I wanted to colour in. Okay, and it is very light. You can sort of, if I turn it over, I don't know if you can see, it looks like a level of, if I put it on the black, there we go, it looks like a level of sort of white work undercoat. Okay, and then what I did was I took a clean nib into my new blending pen, and then I'm going to take a little bit of oil on my spot on sponge. I always say little and then it just comes up. There we go. Little extra drop. And I want the tiniest amount. So it's literally a quick tap. Okay. Now if I come over here, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to hold this up to the light in a minute so you can see how much oil is on that nib with just a tiny little dip into the oil. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to very gently, just working in circular motions, break the pigment of the white to give us that undercoat. Okay, so we can see now, if I turn that over, how we've got a more softer looking undercoat. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to grab my glasses. Tired eyes today. I'm going to put my glasses on. That's better. Okay, I'm going to take the one that I've used for white and I'll pop it to one side. And there was a top tip last week, I think it was from Glynis, just put a little black dot on the stalk of the nib to indicate that maybe this is one that you're going to use for white all the time. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to, whoops a daisy, as Tina would say. I'm just going to very gently flick some of this purple into play. I'm going to take a different nib. Let's go nice and simple. You may want to top up on your nibs at the same time if you're going for the blending pen. And then all I'm doing now is gently moving that colour from the base out towards the tip of the petal. And what that's doing is it's now blending very softly with the white underneath. Okay, so if I bring a white piece of card into play, you can see how we're starting to blend that colour out. Okay, so question, I only have watercolour pencils, so can I use them? Of course you can, Karen. You can use them, but what I would suggest is that you don't use them as a watercolour, because parchment doesn't like too much moisture. So I would say you would have to use them dry. And I know there is a technique, and I think Tina's going to cover that on the next, I think it's the next Pergamano show or the next Get Groovy with Tina show, how to combine the wax-based pencils with the watercolour pencils. But just try it on, trace out an element and just have a practice on your parchment first before you go into your finished piece. Okay, so now what we can do is I'm just gently moving that colour out, and if I want to darken it, then I can just add a little bit more. And there's plenty of oil still on the nib to start to build up that colour. I would never have thought of using this particular colour to create that deep, rich pink colour. Isn't it funny? You just automatically, if you want a pink rose, for me, I just automatically thought with a red and a white, you get pink. I didn't even consider the purple to get a different shade of pink. Okay, so we can carry on, and we can just light, gentle flicks of the pencil. I'm not going on heavy. I'm just slowly building up the depth of the colour. And I haven't put any more oil on the nib, and I'm not putting too much pressure on the nib. So let's have a look and turn this over, so we can now see how that's starting to create a little bit of depth. Okay, so should we go to the piece that I've already started on? I mean, I could probably spend about 10-15 minutes just on one petal. Okay, so let's just go back, and I'm just going to go back over. I'm going to pick up a little bit of oil, and I'm just going to go over the whole area again. Okay, just in nice sort of circular motions. Because when I look at this now compared to last week, it looks a little bit granular, where maybe I didn't use enough oil just to break it down. So tiny little bits of the torso oil. Yeah, it's definitely making a difference now. Okay, there we go. Just gently break it. Let me take away the the papers up there, I can see a little bit better now. That definitely needs a little bit more of that colour, B14. There we go, I can definitely see that moving now. And as I say, if you find that maybe you've gone on a little bit too heavy, then you can use the eraser pencil to lift it back and start again if you want to. Okay. So we're just working, I'm going all over the design to start with, just to sort of like reactivate it from last week. When I say reactivate it, what I'm doing, I was obviously happy with it last week, but this week I'm not. Okay. So I can just go back over those areas like so. So let's turn this over. So on the black, you can't really see anything, can you? If I bring a white piece of card in, you can see the colour, which is quite soft, but then you lose the line art. So this is where the rainbow papers allow the white line art to shine through. Okay. I mean, you could go with a normal companion paper, one of the solid colours. There will definitely be a colour in the 7 different options available to you to complement the colouring in. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start to sort of add some depth. So I'm going to work on this bottom petal here. I already made a start on it last week. So I'm just putting a little bit of the pencil just in that bottom area there. And I'm going to put a little bit in the middle there. And maybe a little bit just at the tips. And then just using that circular motion, I'm just going to smooth it out. See, I said to you my voice would slow down. I wouldn't be all waffly and gobbledygook once I got into it. But can you see how the oil definitely makes a difference to break down the pigment of the pencil. Okay, so I've done, let's just put a little bit more depth. Just a tiny little bit. But you see that, just little bits and pieces. A little bit of colour. Oh, I'm so glad we've got these back in stock. Because I had chunky fingers, I really struggled holding them and sort of colouring it. I mean, it worked, but the blending pen definitely makes a difference. And then just gently move that colour. And I'm keeping the sort of central part quite light. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can sort of see that. I'm starting off at the base of that petal and then just pushing out to the middle. So if I turn that round now, I mean the colouring it, I mean I'm not an expert colourer by no means. I mean, if you want to see how colouring's done, then all you have to do is sort of watch Barb in the shack, and I thought that was great yesterday. I would never have thought of using Dorso oil on cardstock. Didn't even cross my mind, because it was oil and it's pergamano. I just automatically thought parchment. I know we say with the pencils you can use pencils on cardstock as well, but I hadn't even considered or even thought about using the Dorso oil, because I would have, for me, I thought it would just soak in and you won't be able to do anything. So if you want to see how the Dorso oil worked on cardstock, then go back and watch yesterday's shack with Barb, because that was, yeah, that was a real eye-opener for me. What about you at home? Who watched the shack? Who watched the shack yesterday? And who had used Dorso oil on card before? Anybody? I'm sure there's probably one or two of you that have probably given it a go. Okay, so now we start to see how we're starting to get that depth. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to work on the next one now. Okay, now what I'm going to do, just to help myself, I know there's a white line there, so I'm just going to remove the colour off of that white line, just so that it gives me the definition of that particular petal. Okay, so let's have a look. So let's put a little bit of colour down here and a little bit just around there. Right, let's see if I need to load up. No, there still seems to be some oil. And what you'll find when the pigment stops moving, you'll know that you've just got to put a little bit more oil in place. So just pick up a little bit, dab it out on your sponge, and all of a sudden it starts to move again. And if you find that it's moving it too much, then just dab it on your spot-on sponge just to remove some of that oil. Okay, that's better. Very, very gently. Put a little bit more colour. So it's all about sort of building it up in layers. You just gradually, I mean, you can do one petal at a time like I am, or you can do your base layer all in one go and then just work your way around. It's entirely up to you. So let's have a look. So now we're starting to sort of build up our colour. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So let's have a look at this one here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go over it all. Just light circular motions. Now I'm going to introduce some more, and it's just like we're doing the white work. It's just I'm starting at the base and I'm just flicking upwards just to pop some of that colour in place. I mean, what does it look like if I turn it over? You've got sort of a level of darkness, but it's not as smooth. Okay. So same technique with the blending nib. We're just starting at the bottom and gradually pushing out. I need a tiny little bit more oil. That's better. And just slowly build it up. I think I didn't realise this week was the Chelsea Flower Show. Has anyone been watching on TV? I watched the build-up on Sunday. How they start from an area of grass and then slowly build up over a 3-week period. How excuse me, how they build up these exquisite gardens in 3 weeks. And then they have to dismantle it, and then it often goes to various different places. So I know there's a number of sort of charity gardens there. So it will then go to somewhere where that charity can benefit from the garden, which I think is great. Has anyone been to the Chelsea Flower Show before? I'm sure many of you have. I went many. So I've been twice. I went with my mum once. My mum absolutely loved flowers and the Chelsea Flower Show. And yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it, but it was smaller than what I thought it was. I imagine. I mean, it probably isn't. Um, but I just imagined it to be a lot bigger than what it was. But I did enjoy it. Unfortunately, on the two occasions I have been, one was an all day session with my mum, and it was beautiful, glorious sunshine. And the second occasion was a corporate event in the evening, and that it had been warm during the day, so it was lovely. Sort of, it was I was going to say summer, but it's not, is it? Occasion. We're just slowly building up our layers of colour. Nobody else been to the Chelsea Flower Show? Just me? All I can see is jam jars, talking about jam jars. Yeah, just eating more jam. Okay. Talking of jam then. Okay. Talking of jam. Excuse me. Does anybody watch Susan Calman in her little camper van on her little road trips? I think it's on a Friday evening. And she goes about in a little camper van that she calls Helen Mirren. And last week she was in, it was Devon or Cornwall, can't remember which. And she made herself a trifle. She went to a chili farm, and she picked up a pot of chili jam, and she pulled up to the side of the road, and she decided to make a trifle with the chili jam. So she got this, it was this big jar of chili jam, and then she had this pot, and she scooped half of it to the bottom of the bowl. Then she poured ready-made custard on top, and then she had the squirty cream on top, and then all the hundreds and thousands on it. And that was her trifle. And she said as she took a mouthful, you had the sweetness of the cream and the custard, and then you got that little bite of the chili jam. Yeah, I think she's great. I really enjoy. I think she comes across on the program as sort of being really sort of fun and generous, and sort of like she doesn't care what she does. But yeah, I do enjoy watching her on a Friday evening if I'm home. Such a great character. Okay, so you can see now we're slowly building up the depth of the colour. So a few of you have been to Chelsea. A few of you have been to, oh, that's right, there's one in Tatton Park, isn't there? The RHS show. I think that one's later in the year, isn't it, Jane? I think it follows on. But I like a garden centre as well. I could spend hours walking around the garden centre. Okay, so let's have a look how we're getting on. There we go. Let's hold this up so we can start to, we see how the depth of the colour is building up. I totally agree, Jane. Custard and cream, yes. Chili jam, no. There we go. You can see how we're slowly starting to build the depth of the colour up on this rose. So we're going to carry on. See, it looks dark on the back, doesn't it? Because obviously the translucency of the parchment helps to diffuse the colour on the front. So always check what you're doing every now and again when you turn it over. Colin won a silver gilt medal at Tatton. What was he exhibiting, Jane? I bet that was fun. Does he grow his own veg, or does he have a particular flower? So we're just slowly, very, very lightly applying the colour. There we go. Bonsai trees. Wow. Wow. There was a guy on, he's in the main marquee. His speciality is hostas. He's based down in Ashford in Kent. I can't think of the name of the nursery, and he's exhibited a number of times, but he also has a passion for bonsai trees and koi carp. And this year, apparently it's the first time, apparently it took a lot of negotiating. It's the first time livestock was allowed inside the main marquee. And he brought some of his koi carp to exhibit with these bonsai trees and hostas. And yeah, and some of his trees he'd been working on for sort of like 10 years or so. They're so magical, aren't they? And am I right, Jane? Because they didn't really sort of go into too much detail in relation to the bonsai trees, but he was also working with the local council on sort of like heathlands and stuff like that, and they were sort of cutting back certain bushes and just thinning it out a little bit for the wildlife. And then he was saving some of the roots to grow the bonsais on. Does that make sense? So does a bonsai, do you have to implant into a root for the bonsai start? I should really look it up, shouldn't I? Because I mean the effect for me is fantastic. I think for me personally, I just thought a bonsai tree was just a miniature tree, but from what I gathered, from what I was picking up, I may have totally read it wrong. It actually starts off as a root and it grows from the root. I don't know. I'm sure Jane can fill us in, or maybe Colin can fill us in. So yeah, magical they are. They're absolutely stunning. But I know that they take many, well, I suppose like any sort of tree, takes many, many years to grow, doesn't it? Yeah, that'd be interesting. Colin's been doing bonsai trees for about 38 years. Wow. So Sonia is in the room. Good morning, Sonia. Apologies for forgetting about you earlier. You can hock any seedling and plant it on a shallow dish and keep trimming. Takes years. I'm sure it does. Yeah, very interesting. But yeah, it was quite interesting to see this guy that say based down in Ashford in Kent, been exhibiting for many years at Chelsea with his hostas. And there were some fantastic hostas. There was like miniature hostas, full giant hostas. For me, I know for when I've had a couple of hostas in the garden in pots. They're just a slug and snail magnet, aren't they? So yeah, so he said he felt very honoured to be able to combine his love of hostas with his love of bonsai trees, which is his hobby, and his koi. I mean, some of these koi were massive. I mean, many years. I'm sure they take to grow as well. So we're just slowly building up. Yeah, I agree. So hostas, but so do slugs. Absolutely. That's what I remember from having hostas in the garden. If you didn't treat around the hostas, you could come out the following day and it'd be gone. Yeah. Must be something in hostas that really attracts. Colin has an oak tree that is 60 years old. Wow. And how big is that oak tree, Jane? I mean, you think automatically, I mean, I know we're talking about bonsai, but when you say an oak tree 60 years old, you expect it to be humongous. So all I'm doing, I'm just very gently going around and just adding a little bit of colour, layer upon layer. I think I need to put a little bit more just along here on this one. 2.5 feet tall. Wow. Wow. That's madness. Well, it's not madness, it's nature, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Must take a lot of patience and care. And are they all grown inside, Jane, or are they? Do you have a greenhouse? Are they in the garden? Feels like putting poor Jane on the spotlight today. That's amazing. It really is. Okay, so let's have a look. So I'm going to leave the rose there for this moment in time. And now I'm going to have a look at one of the leaves all outside in the garden. Wow. Okay, so for the leaves, I'm going to use two different greens. I'm going to use the B7 and a B15. Okay. And what I'm going to do, let's have a look at this one leaf here. I'm going to put a very light undercoat of the light green, which is the B7 down. I'm doing the same technique. I'm just scribbling it very lightly. I'm going to go for, I've already got a green nib here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of Dorso oil on there just to reactivate. And then just going to blend that in like so. Now on the leaves, don't forget we added a little bit of white work just around the edges. Okay. So I've got my green leaf there. Okay. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, this is really like this, like a B15, it's like an olive sort of green. So what I'm going to do now is just gently, very gently, just put some colour on in that area there. And I'm going to use the same green nib, and I'm just going to break that down very gently, like so. Go on, I'm going to put a little bit more. And then just break it down very, very softly. Okay, so now when we turn it over, can you see, I don't know if you can see that. If I put it on there we go. If I put it on the white, you can definitely see how we've started to darken up those leaves. Okay, so the undercoat for me was the lighter green, and then using that olive green then to darken up the area. Okay, how are we doing for time? Is it really? Goodness me, 10 to 11 already. Where does the time fly? We've had a great time. We've been talking about Chelsea Flower Show, we've talked about Colin's bonsais, and we've been doing some colouring at the same time. All for me, what helps with my colouring is the blending pen, which, thank you, Mr. Dave, we've got back in stock. So we're going to carry on building up the colour, but just before we carry on, let's have a look at my list of other stuff I've got to say about. So I've told you about the open days. We had a chat about that at the beginning of the hour. As I say, we've got tickets still available if you're interested in that. Stuart could pop the link up for us. So it's Friday the 9th and Saturday the 10th, fast approaching. We've also got the Clarity Matters blog that Grace and the team look after on a Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is all about sharing artwork. So even if you're not on Facebook, then you can go to the claritymattersblog.com, and there's always a selection of artwork that Grace and the team choose to share with everybody. And then on a Sunday, there's always a step-by-step tutorial from one of the design team. So there we go. Stuart's popped the link up to that. Then you've got Barbara's blog, barbaragrayblog.com, always full of lots of information. There's often techniques on there, demonstrations, what's coming up the week ahead, showcasing a lot of the artwork from the design team for the upcoming TV shows. And then on a Tuesday, there's a design of the week, so where we highlight something. And this week, it is one of my favourites that we've covered in Groovi Tuesday before, which is Josie's very first duet collection, The Queens. So that is the design of the week for this week. So make sure you check out Barb's blog later this evening. I know she's busy prepping for TV at the moment. So we've got Barb's blog, we've got the Clarity Matters blog, we've got the open days, and then upcoming TV shows. Barb's on in the Shack with Clarity on Create and Craft on Thursday at 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Then on Friday, more of a sort of a mixed media arty shows at 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. with some new designs from sort of lovely henna-inspired designs from Tina Cox. And then there's a cheeky little hour at 11 o'clock over on Craft Extra, which I'll be doing with some of our best loved dyes. So there's lots to keep you. So Thursday, 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And then Friday, 9 a.m. on the main channel, 11 a.m. on Craft Extra, and then 1 p.m. on the main channel. And then we're back in the Shack on Monday with, oh no, we're not, it's Bank Holiday Monday. So I'll be back with you on the Tuesday for another Groovi Tuesday. But we've still got plenty of time to carry on colouring. I just wanted to get those bits out there because I know I waffle and I've got my head down and I look up and think, oh, where's the time gone? So thank you, Stuart, for popping all those links up. There we go. So let's carry on with the colouring. I think I'm going to do another leaf now. So onto the back, and let's do the base coat on all of the leaves with that lovely light green. So this is the B7. Okay, just light scribbling. And let's do this big one here. And just very, very gently put that down. So I mean, it looks nice, but doesn't it look so different when you add in a different colour of green? So a little bit of Dorso oil, blend in that lighter colour first. And I'm going to take it off of the paper so I can see the line art a little bit more clearly. See, with these nibs, you can go right up to the edge. But if you do happen to go over the edge, it's not the end of the world, because you can rub it out with the eraser pencil. So what else have we been talking about? So we've been talking about Chelsea Flower Show, Colin's Bonsais, Susan Cowman's Chili Jam Trifle. She's so funny. She doesn't seem to mind what she does. Care isn't the right word. She doesn't seem to, you can see that she gets scared on some of the things that she does, but hats off to her for giving it all a go. Yeah, I think she's great. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce the paper underneath so I can see where, see, because it's a little bit more difficult. Well, I can still do it, but if I put the darker green on, by having this colour underneath, helps me sort of just see where I'm going. Okay, so just going to lightly add some colour on there. Same just along that edge there. And on this one, just here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go in. I'm using the darker green to do the stems on the roses and the lily in the valley while I'm here, just like so. Okay. Just to introduce a little bit of greenness. Now I'm going to break down the darker green. So I'm just flicking out again, staying on that line, and then just blending that colour round. I'm going to pick up a tiny little bit more oil, like so. Here we go. A little bit too much on that one. Doesn't matter, I can go back in and add a little bit more. And then very lightly, see, I can get into those stems, and if I go over the edge, I'm really not worried, because I can take the eraser pencil and just tidy it up. Okay, just like so. And it definitely needs a little bit more dark green along that one, because I had too much oil on there. There we go. So thank you once again for your company. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Thank you to Stuart for popping all the links up, and as always to the fantastic design team in the room. Sonia, Jane, Sonia, Jane, Glynis, Josie. I think that's all that was in the room today. That's all I saw. Yes, Sonia, I will get it into my head, and I apologise. For some reason, I've got a block on the name Sonia. I really do not know why. There's nothing intentional at all. I'm sure when Sonia comes to the Ditton Open Day, she's going to have a great big banner saying, "My name is Sonia." And I wouldn't blame her. So I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Don't forget to check out the TV shows coming up. And I will be back with you next Tuesday. Well, next Tuesday we're going to be on episode 98. See, Sonia's definitely in the room, Ken. She's just above you on the comments, according to my little system here. Sonia Goodliff. I forgot what I was saying now. No, it's gone now. Sonia. Let's have a look. Let's turn that over. See, it's coming together beautifully now, isn't it? Just slowly building up. Oh, that was it. That's what I was saying. We're on episode 97 so far. Episode 98 is next week, and we're fast approaching the 100th episode of Groovi Tuesday. Who would have thought? So we'll have to try and think of something special for the 100th episode of Groovi Tuesday. But I've got a few weeks to think about that. There's a lot going on in between now and then. I'll think of something last minute. So enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the weather. It's meant to be lovely here in the UK the week ahead. But stay inside and craft. That's what it's all about. So until then, I shall see you next week. Take it easy and enjoy your week. Bye-bye now. Ooh, where's the mouse gone? Come on, Mousy. Mousy doesn't want to work.